Hi everyone, this is Beth Pensabene with Beachway Therapy Center. I am here today to share a story with you about one of our alumni, Angela from Virginia. As you know, we've been having these series for Recovery Month, and we had so much amazing feedback that we decided to give it a go going into October. So we're going to ask her to join us, and she'll be hopefully live with us in just a minute. And she can tell you her story. It's a true story of recovery. She came from two abusive, verbal and physical abusive relationships that really were traumatic for her and kept her in a round and round cycle of addiction. She had started drinking when she was 11 years old, and now she's in her 30s. So it was a long trial and tribulation for her, and she wants to share her story with you. Let me see here. Just make sure that we're good here on Facebook. There she is. Okay. She should be joining us in just a second here. Hi, how are you, Angela?
Good. How are you?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I just gave a little bit of your story to our community. I shared with everyone, that you're 2 years sober. Congratulations.
Thanks.
That's an inspiration to everyone. You should be really proud of yourself.
Yeah, it feels good. I mean, it does.
That's great. And I was sharing a little bit about your history. So can you tell the community a little bit about what age you were when you started drinking, what triggered it, and how it kind of grew from there?
I started drinking around 11 with, my dad, and because it was just, well, we did it. I mean, he was the first person I drank with, but then because it seemed cool with him, it just became a thing, but that's what I don't know, like everybody around me kind of just lived in that type of lifestyle where they were drinking and everything, and so I just quickly followed in that route. Because I looked up to everybody.
Right.
So yeah, it kind of spiraled. I took things a lot further than any of them did, but it
Well, every person's different, right? So you had it turned into something else, and that happens to some people. It may not happen to everyone, but it definitely happens to some people. You were saying that to me that you were struggling with alcohol and with drugs. Is that correct?
Yeah.
For almost 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, which is a long time. Can you tell us a little bit about that, such a long stretch of time? Did you have, ups and downs, or can you tell us a little bit about what that was like for you?
I didn't really see it as a problem until way later, because I still managed to, go to school and graduate and do all the things that I was supposed to do. Like kind of the motto in my family was like, as long as you go to school or go to work every day, nothing else matters. And so like I didn't see a problem with it, and that's kind of why nobody caught on to it sooner, because I still went to school. I still did all the things. I just, I started working at, I think 14. I got a job, and then I kept year-round jobs, like starting at like 16. And, so nobody really questioned too much of what I was doing, because I appeared to be doing all the external things. It wasn't until, like, all my friends had fallen off real early. I mean, and I came to the realization that, like, as long as I didn't start shooting up, it would be okay.
Mm.
Um, and you know, I kind of maintained like that for a very long time. It wasn't until the last 2 years of me being out there that, I started, I eventually reached the stage of shooting up, and my life crumbled very quickly.
Mhm.
Um,
Can
yeah.
you tell us, when you were trying to manage all this, right? And in your mind, you're thinking, I'm going to work, so I don't have a problem. How are you feeling physically then?
Drained all the time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like, I was so numb to everything that I didn't acknowledge anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I was always tired. I mean, I was working like 3 jobs and going to school, and just, I was a very busy person. I always stayed busy, which is probably why I stayed out of trouble, because, I wasn't out there running the streets and doing all the things with my friends. All my other friends, they have lists of legal trouble. So, like, me, in comparison, I didn't see myself as a problem, because I didn't have legal trouble. I had jobs. I was going to school. I graduated with a bachelor's in accounting. Like, so I didn't, I mean, yeah, I did a little heroin every day. Like, it didn't seem like a problem to me,
Mm-hmm.
because I was still doing all those things.
How were your relationships during this period of time
Strained.
when you were, you thought you were doing fine, right? In your mind, you were keeping it all together. And what kind of relationships also were part of this time of your life?
I mean, just toxic ones, but, like, I saw myself as a good person, and I couldn't understand why people were doing these terrible things to me. And, um like, I felt I had, like, justifiable anger about all these situations in my life. And so, I mean, I could not keep a healthy relationship. I had abusive two abusive boyfriends in a row. One was for 3 years, one was for 4. And it was like extreme abuse, but I couldn't figure out how to not be in that way, because I didn't know how to not be like that. I look up to my parents immensely, and we have a great relationship now. But it took me a long time to realize, like, even though me and my dad are so much the same in so many ways, it took me a long time to realize, like, just because we are the same in a lot of ways doesn't mean we are the same person. And just because he can manage, to drink like a normal person, and go to work every day and maintain a life, doesn't mean that's going to work for me. So it I don't know, it all my I had not managed to maintain a single healthy relationship.
So let's talk a little bit about that, because when you got to Beachway, you were at the point where you wanted to deal with your trauma of your relationships, but also build back the relationships with your family. Can you tell us a little bit about that family therapy that you received?
So, I mean, Dina does a really good job with the family therapy, because I mean, my mom, went to all the things, and my dad went to, I think, a good amount, but, my mom did all of it. And um at first it kind of, I think it bothered me that like my dad didn't do all the work that my mom did because, you know, like she's in such a healthy position now where, you know, the enabling, she knows how to put her foot down. Um, whereas like my dad is like, you know, he's still my biggest enabler, and my mom says it all the time, but like it's from a good place, you know. He's a good guy. It's just I've had to get my manipulation in check because I don't want to take advantage of that relationship anymore. You know, I took advantage of it severely. And so we had some mending to do. And Dina was, I mean, she really like helped my family recover from all this because my parents, who have always been my biggest supporters, always had my back, got to the point where they really didn't fuck with me anymore. I mean, my dad, you know, who has never like turned his back on me, um at one point told me don't call him anymore, and if he sees my boyfriend, like there's going to be problems, you know. And yeah, so like now we're back to being, I mean, just we're great again.
So you're able to work out the situation with your parents, it sounds like, to at least come to an understanding of where you
Yeah.
are and where you want to be. Can you give us an example of when you said all the things that your mom did? Can you give us like one example?
So she works Families Anonymous still. She still does. Um, and like I think she sponsors people in it now, and you know, like
That's
she
amazing.
yeah, she even quit drinking herself. Not that she needed to, honestly, because she didn't have a problem. She just decided she didn't want to drink anymore.
Hmm.
And and like I don't know, our family has grown a lot like closer because my mom did all the, I don't know. She went to all Dina's meetings. She read the books Dina told her to read. She went to the Families Anonymous meetings, and she like created the community that she needed to be able to heal herself and put herself first,
Hmm.
because that was the biggest problem, is like, you know, she was so codependent on me that while I'm tanking my life, it's tanking hers.
Right. And that we hear that a lot, you know, that happening, the relationship between, and sometimes it's the reverse. Sometimes it's the child with the parent, but it's something that typically happens, and I'm sure there's people out there that can relate to it. For people wondering who Dina is, she is our family therapist at Beachway. So she's amazing, as you can tell, and very helpful for situations like this, that are very complicated and things that have been going on your entire life, right? You kind of have to unravel it and put it back all together. Also, you told me that you, after being in two verbal and physical abusive relationships over the course of this period of time, you're now in a healthy relationship. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's challenging, because I have, you know, I I don't want to end up in the situation that I was in before,
Hmm.
because like that was just bad. It was, I mean, it was awful. But it takes a lot of, it took a long time for me to feel like I might be able to be in a relationship again.
Hmm.
Um, and you know, I still go to therapy
Hmm.
every week, and I'm constantly asking, okay, like is this, you know, I'm trying like because I don't know, and I don't want to jump to conclude about something
Hmm.
that's like a normal behavior or reaction to a situation. Sure, there's still challenges, fine, and I mean, I'm still figuring it out, you know. um
Well, it sounds like you have tools to kind of help you
yeah,
do that, you know, to be able to find how do these relationships work and how can I be happy as well as my partner be happy.
yeah.
Is there any specific tool in particular that you kind of learn that you use, you know, in your daily life?
I mean, Honestly, my biggest thing is I have to run, I have my core group of mainly women,
Mhm.
women and my therapist, that's it. And uh and I just run things by them
Mhm.
because I'm like, all right, am I being crazy right now? Or,
Mhm.
or is he wrong? Or am I wrong? Or what,
Mhm.
like, is this normal? Am I, so I don't because I mean, like, I used to be in relationships where it was controlling and they didn't want me talking to other people and
Mm.
putting our business out there, and
Mhm.
other people don't need to know what's going on. But like, I've made it very clear in this relationship that I'm in, like, I have to run my by other people
Mhm.
so that I know what, like, if I'm being out, check myself,
Mhm. Well, you're
because
also kind of you're relearning, right? Because when you started drinking when you were 11, were the relationships that you had almost like you have to relearn how to do them now that you're in sobriety?
yeah, I mean, because I didn't know how to deal with emotions at all. I just
Mhm.
jumped to anger. I'm either happy or angry, and so um it's learning how to express my emotions
Mhm.
without, throwing fists with somebody, because it doesn't need to come to that anymore.
Mhm.
Um because, like, yeah, the abusive relationships were not just like, it wasn't just on them. Like, I played a huge part, and
Mhm.
I know that. And like, that does not make anything that happened right, but I do know that my part didn't help.
Did you kind of learn how to get to that point as well in recovery? How to take accountability for it?
Yeah, that took a while.
Mhm.
That took a while to, to accept that, like, I was not perfect, you know? Like,
Mhm.
people, I mean, it just took a while for me to understand that, like, I, people don't just act like a jerk to you for no reason. I mean, sometimes they do, sure, but
Mhm.
that I played a role, my actions didn't help anything. And it took me a while to get to a point where I was willing to accept that, like, all right, yeah, like, this person is a terrible person and I do not need any type of communication with them. But at the same time, recognizing that, like, my role in it, and not perpetuating it into the future,
Mhm.
into my future relationships.
I want to let you know Jeremy just said something on here. I've met Jeremy as well. He just said it's amazing to see how far you come. So I just want to let you know.
Wedding, last
Oh, you
two,
did?
yeah,
That's
it was.
amazing. Was it beautiful?
It was awesome. Jeremy's wife is my sponsor.
Oh, amazing. Full circle moment.
Yeah.
So before we sign off, is there anything else that you want to tell our community here on Facebook?
um that it's just, like, it seems impossible, like, when you're in it, to get to a point where you don't think about drugs every day, and you don't, you know like, it just seems impossible to get to a point where you could live a normal life
Mhm.
when you're so deep in it. But once you get there, like, the it's a long ride, but after you get through the worst of it, like, it's behind you, and it will get better if you stick with it.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. We really appreciate it.
Thank
I
you.
hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, you too.
Bye.
Bye.